Mom altered Dad's will, cutting me out completely. When she called begging for money, I reminded her, "You won't get a single cent from me either." I, 33 never thought I'd be sitting across from my mother in her living room having this conversation. The same living room where I'd played as a child, where family photos still hung on walls despite the relationships in them having long since fractured. "You won't get a single cent," she said, her hand dramatically placed on the manila folder I knew contained my father's will. Her eyes were cold, calculating, a look I'd grown familiar with over the years. I simply smiled and stood up. "Then don't expect a single cent from me either." The silence that followed was deafening. I could see the shock register on her face. She hadn't expected that response. She'd expected begging, maybe tears, or at least an argument. But I was done with all that. Let me back up a bit. My father passed away 3 weeks ago after a long battle with cancer. We'd reconciled in his final months, much to my mother's displeasure. She and I have had a strained relationship for years, but I never imagined she'd go this far. Growing up, I was always the disappointment. My older sister was the golden child, perfect grades, perfect career, perfect life. I struggled through school with undiagnosed ADHD, something my mother refused to acknowledge. "You're just lazy," she'd say. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" When I finally got diagnosed at 23, started medication, and turned my life around, she took credit. "I always knew you could do it if you just applied yourself," she'd tell anyone who would listen. I built a successful business from scratch. No help from family, no loans, just hard work and determination. Now I own 3 restaurants in the city and have a comfortable life with my wife and our 2 kids. My mother never acknowledged my success until she needed something. And she needed things often. A new roof, a car repair, medical bills not covered by insurance. I always helped because, despite everything, she was still my mother. Dad was different. He wasn't perfect. He worked too much and was emotionally distant. But in his final year, we connected in a way we never had before. He apologized for not standing up for me, for letting my mother's favoritism go unchecked. We made peace. Apparently, he also changed his will. I didn't know this until today's ambush meeting. "Your father wasn't thinking clearly," my mother said after I sat back down. "He was heavily medicated. I'm just protecting what's rightfully mine." "What exactly did he change?" I asked. She huffed. "He left you the lake house and a third of his savings." "That's completely unreasonable." The lake house. The only place I had good memories from childhood. Dad teaching me to fish. Stargazing on the dock. It meant nothing to my mother. She hated it there, complained about the bugs and the lack of shopping. "And what does the current will say?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Everything comes to me, as it should. I was his wife for 40 years. I nodded slowly. "And you've already had this new will executed?" Her silence told me everything. "That's illegal, Mom. That's fraud. It's what your father would have wanted if he was thinking clearly," she insisted. "Besides, you don't need it. You have your restaurants. Your sister needs help with the kids' college funds." Of course. My sister, the one who married rich, lives in a mansion, and somehow still needs financial help. "I'm not contesting anything," I said finally. "Keep it all." Her face lit up with triumph, but I wasn't finished. "But from now on, don't call me when your roof leaks or your car breaks down. Don't expect me to pay for your prescriptions or your property taxes. And definitely don't expect to see your grandchildren. You wouldn't dare keep them from me," she hissed. "I'm not keeping them from you. I'm just not funding the relationship anymore. No more free meals at my restaurants. No more vacations I pay for. No more anything." I stood up again, this time heading for the door. "You ungrateful," she started. "I've been grateful for scraps my entire life, Mom. I'm done. Enjoy the will." I walked out, got in my car, and called my wife. It went exactly as expected. I told her. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Actually, I am. For the first time in a long time, I really am." Update 1. 2 weeks later. The fallout was swift and predictable. My sister called screaming about family loyalty. Extended family members I barely speak to sent messages expressing their disappointment. My mother, however, remained silent. Until yesterday, my phone rang with her number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "The roof is leaking again," she said without preamble. "The quote to fix it is $4,800. I almost laughed. And I need you to take care of it. I'm on a fixed income now." "No," I said simply. "What do you mean, no? I'm your mother, and I'm the son you disinherited. Remember our conversation? Not a single cent." She was quiet for a moment. "You were serious about that?" "Completely. But where am I supposed to get that kind of money?" "The same place I got it when I needed it. Hard work. Or ask your golden child. I'm sure she'll help." I hung up feeling a strange mix of guilt and liberation. My wife found me staring out the window afterward. "You okay?" she asked, wrapping her arms around me from behind. She really thought I wasn't serious, I said. After everything, she still expected me to cave. My wife rested her head on my shoulder. You did the right thing. You can't keep setting yourself on fire to keep her warm. Later that night, my sister called. I braced myself for another tirade, but her tone was different. Mom called me about the roof, she said. Let me guess, you're calling to tell me what a terrible son I am for not fixing it. Actually, no. She sounded tired. I told her I couldn't help either. We're not as financially secure as everyone thinks. That was unexpected. What do you mean? Tom's business has been struggling for years. We've been living on credit cards and home equity loans. The big house, the cars, it's all for show. I sat down, genuinely shocked. I had no idea. No one did. That was the point. She paused. Mom's been helping us, actually, giving us money from what Dad left. The pieces clicked into place. My mother wasn't just being spiteful. She needed the money to keep funding my sister's facade. I'm sorry about the will, my sister continued. I didn't know she did that. Dad definitely wanted you to have the lake house. After we hung up, I felt a strange sense of clarity. This wasn't just about money. It was about decades of manipulation and lies. Update 2. 1 month later. I hired a lawyer. Not to contest the will. I meant what I said about not wanting a cent, but to investigate what actually happened. It didn't take long to discover that my mother had indeed committed fraud. My father's real will, properly witnessed and notarized, was on file with his longtime attorney. I had a decision to make. I could press charges, force the issue, and potentially see my mother face legal consequences. Or I could find another way. I chose another path. I invited my mother to lunch at a neutral location, a cafe downtown, not one of my restaurants. She looked older somehow, more fragile, but her eyes still held that calculating look. I know about the real will, I said after we ordered. I've seen a copy. She stiffened. Are you threatening me? No, I'm offering you a deal. I laid it out simply. I wouldn't contest the will or report the fraud if she signed the lake house over to me, as my father had intended. She could keep the money, all of it. Why would you do that? She asked suspiciously. The money is worth more. Because the lake house is the only thing I actually care about. It's where Dad and I connected. It's where I want my kids to fish and stargaze, like I did. She studied me for a long moment. And if I refuse, then I'll contest the will, report the fraud, and let the legal system sort it out. You might win, you might lose, but it will be expensive and public. 2 days later, she agreed. The paperwork was signed the following week. Update 3. 6 months later. The lake house needed work, a lot of work. It had been neglected for years. My wife and I spent weekends ripping out moldy carpet, replacing rotted deck boards, and painting peeling walls. Our kids complained at first, but soon got into the spirit of restoration. I found old fishing rods in the shed, just where Dad had left them. Teaching my son to cast a line off the same dock, where I'd learned, brought an unexpected lump to my throat. My mother and I maintain a distant, civil relationship. She doesn't ask for money anymore. My sister and I talk more frequently now. Real conversations, not the superficial check-ins of the past. Her family is downsizing, facing their financial reality. It's been hard for them, but there's an authenticity to our relationship that wasn't there before. As for me, I'm at peace with my decision. The lake house wasn't just about property. It was about honoring my father's wishes and breaking a cycle of manipulation. Last weekend, as I sat on the dock watching the sunset with my family, my phone buzzed with a text. From my mother. Your father would be happy you have the lake house. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't even particularly warm. But it was something like acknowledgement, and for now, that's enough. I didn't respond. Instead, I put my phone away and pointed out the first evening star to my daughter. Some inheritances aren't about money at all.